Back to Junko Jr., we got us another project, actually two projects. We got some vintage old stuff. Check these dudes out. So talked to an old buddy, and he's like, yeah, I need to get this thing going. I don't feel like messing with it. I said, I'll mess with it for you. So we got to start with the big Suzuki 250. He said it's been sitting for a little while, so we're definitely going to have to go through, clean gas tank, maybe a new petcock, battery, clean and or replace the carburetor, see how it goes. Then we can, put new tires on it once we get it to that point where we know everything's up and running. So that's going to be the first one. The second one, this thing has been a champ for many a years. The Suzuki Quad Sport LT80. She's a bad dude. So it's actually family friends that own both these bikes, and the girl that rode this one, I always called her sister because I feel like we should have been brother and sister. We spent a lot of time together growing up and had a lot of good times. And she had this when it was bone stock, and then one year her dad put the wheels and tires on it and put a DG pipe on it. So it's a bad dude. Like, she thought she was something, and she was ripping this thing through the woods and all. We had a lot of fun on it. Her brother would always ride it, and we just had a lot of good memories on that. So we're going to try to revive that as well. This is a priority machine. We're going to start with it, tear it down, like I say, get the basics going, get this thing up and running. So let's get it in the shop and get to it. These little batteries, all these little motorcycle batteries, when they go dead, that's it. If you're lucky, you can get one to come back. I ain't that lucky. When these things say they're done, they're done. So as long as it had been sitting a couple years too, we're just going to get a new one. No sense of messing with it. Easy air filter deal lid. A little dirty, but ooh, she's gone too. Look at that. You just touch it and the air filter media rips. So I'm glad I checked that. Obviously we're gonna have the carb off, but you don't want to fire it up and it wind up sucking all that into the intake system in the carburetor and just trashing all that. So we'll have to get one of those also. Add it to the list of things to get. All right, a few more things here. We got some of these push button plastic deals, rivets, whatever you want to call them, to deal with and get out of the way. And we can go ahead and get this whole front cowling, fender assembly off this bike so we can get to the gas tank. Just going to get that stuff out of the way that we know we have to get rid of, and just make it easier to work on so we can get to the carburetor easier. Weston's grabbing a socket so we can pull the bolts out of the front fenders there. Stubborn little clip. There she comes. One more. There it is. Yeah. Just like that. So that's all loose. Yeah, a couple bolts here. Maybe some more under the front. Sweet. She's fixing to be there. All right, I think we got all the fasteners out. Let's see if that plastic front fender assembly will come off this bike. Spread it out on the sides here. What do we got on the front down there? I think the headlight's separate though. What are we missing? Oh, we got a thing here. Oh, you see some more fasteners? All right, let's get it. There we go. I think. Oh yeah. Headlights unplugged, bolts out. See if she'll come off there now, Weston. There it is. Yeah, pull these apart. Pick up the front. You're hitting the bumper down there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, judging by the looks of the outside of the gas tank, and if we take a look here, oh yeah, it got parked with some regular pump ethanol gas in it. So thankfully, it's a plastic gas tank, so that's going to be easier to clean out. This is a kind of a complicated petcock compared to normal. It's got, two in and out here ish. Not sure exactly. I'll have to investigate that, but it's not going to be as cheap as a regular petcock. So probably just going to get a new one of those. I would assume it's going to be pretty trashed, and we'll get the carburetor out there and see what we're dealing with. Holy cow. So this, people, is why you do not run ethanol gasoline in anything except for your daily drivers. This thing has sat around, and look at the funk. That is just what fell out of this line. So I have a feeling that that's going to be a really nasty carburetor when we get it off, but time will tell. Thumb throttle doesn't work. So the slides probably stuck. I mean, the cable could be just rusted as well. I think it's more likely that the slide stuck. So we're gonna get this carburetor off here, and my curiosity is getting the best of me. We're gonna pull the bowl off as well and just see if we even want to attempt rebuilding this carb, or if we're just gonna start looking for a new one. Kind of got a feeling we're gonna be looking for a new one, but we're gonna find out. So we got the carburetor in our hand, obviously. I was concerned about the throttle being stuck. So the slide, it's free as a bird. That feels really good, and it doesn't look that trashed up inside there. So we're going to see what's inside the bowl. Then we have the choke cable. It's stuck. Throttle cable stuck. So I thought I would try to move this here. And it does move. There's some resistance to it, like it's kind of just gummed up feeling. So I'm going to keep going with it. And then we should be able to get this cable out of the housing here, and then we can unscrew it and be able to get this part separated and free in theory. And then we can figure out the other cable. I don't know. Actually, there's one screw here. Looks like we can take this screw out. Now there's one more under there. Don't know how to get to that one yet. We got some figuring out to do. Haven't taken one of these apart before, obviously, but I think it's all figure outable. Okay. So this choke flap that cable is hooked to, that shaft is really gummy in there. I feel like that can definitely be cleaned out, but we got to dive into it a little further. Curiosity is going to get the best of me, so I have to do this tonight. I just don't have the patience to wait. It's almost exciting to see how trash this carburetor is or isn't. Let's see. Not bad. I've seen much worse. Now that's completely gummed up, but it's not terrible. I can't believe that. It's kind of shocking considering it was ethanol gas. Now the main jet and pilot, they're definitely plugged up, but I don't see the need to buy a new carburetor. We're going to clean this thing and cross our fingers. I really think we'll get lucky. The needle and seat float moves, the needle's stuck, but that's okay. We can get that out and clean it up because it's going to have the same sticky brown stuff on it as that. So yeah, we're going to try to fight. I was completely wrong about this carburetor after I thought about it for a second, so I figured we'd film a quick thing to show how dumb I am. So the cable came in here that I thought the throttle cable was stuck. The throttle cable actually works when you get the carburetor off, so that feels great. The choke cable even feels great. I thought they'd be corroded in there. So it's the butterfly, it's the shaft that the butterfly's on that's stuck from all the gunk on there. That's where the cable hooked to in here. Like I said, and I showed, I think I can put the pliers on here and turn this whole thing. But I think ideally we pull the two screws out of the butterfly in there, and I can slide this whole shaft assembly out, and we can really clean everything. But we'll hit it with some brake clean first just to see, what that does. Carburetor cleaner, sorry, and see where that gets us. So we're going to order a carburetor kit so we can get a new gasket. Jets for it will probably come in the kit. We need to get a battery and an air filter. I think that'll probably get us up and running. We're going to find out. Making a little progress here. We got a few more parts in. Got our carburetor back on the bike, and we got the air filter port. We got a new battery, and also we got Weston over here. He's installing the new fuel petcock. The old one, the screen was just completely broke off of it and shot, so better off just to get a new one. We got a good fresh start. It's got a screen on there, so we know it's going to filter out any debris if there is any, even though we already washed out the tank. But for future reference, it should be brand new and good to go. Messy part. Got to get this new air filter oiled up. This stuff, it's like as close to grease as you could get, but they call it oil, so that's what we'll go with. And just get it all squished around there. Weston got our battery put in, so this is the next thing. As far as I can tell, it's getting pretty close to hopefully making some noise. We're gonna find out. You don't want to get too much of this oil on here because then it can, drip out in the housing, the air filter housing there. So it makes kind of a mess if you get too much on it. You just gotta have enough to get the dirt and dust to stick on there. I don't want to go too crazy, but we're gonna get a little bit more. There's plenty of grease in the airbox already to go on this flange. So then we'll just put a little bit of oil, on the flange there to where it goes up against the airbox and that grease that's in there, and this will just seal it right up against it. See, Weston's getting her air filter screwed down, batteries in it. It is time to put some petrol in this unit, make sure we don't have any fuel leaks, and if we don't, it's time to hit the old button. We can, let's give the old key a flick. Yeah, we got our neutral light, so that works. Give it a little bump. Oh yeah, she's got compression too, which it should. Okay, let's get some gas in her. And of course, some non-ethanol gas. We don't have to deal with all the problems that this thing had before. Ethanol gas just kills these small engines, fuel system from the petcock to the carburetor. It just ruins stuff, so it's not worth it. Spend the extra money and buy yourself some real gas, folks. Well, it's not pouring out yet. Hopefully it doesn't at all. That's the on position. Let's try the reserve position as well. Petcock's dry around the tank, our lines. So in theory, we should have gas down to the carburetor now. Well, we could drain the bowl to ensure that we have it in there, or we can do it the funner way and just hit the button, see if the thing fires up. I like that idea. I'm just going to check it before we put all the plastics back on because that's kind of a pain to have to take all that stuff back off. There we go. Choke. Actually, I forgot this thing has a prime position. Maybe we need to do that. Yep. Golly. Ran pretty good for a second there. So you just flip the petcock has a prime position, and that, I guess, pushes fuel to the carburetor quicker. She's alive. Oh yeah. I like it. Oh yeah. Headlight works. Tail light. Idle's pretty dang good for cleaning a carb and not doing a complete replacement. I'd rather just use the factory if we can. It's got a little drip to it, so let's let it run, get some heat in it, and just make sure. Not, we'll have to pull it back apart and get a new needle and seat. Try that again. Let's see. Oh yeah. It's not the greatest, I'll admit. But we cleaned everything out in the carburetor, and it's weird because it idles pretty decent except for when it shuts off there. But the choke's still on, so I was having to give it some choke so it would get enough gas to run. But all the jet and everything was really clean when I took it apart, or while it was apart. So I don't know. Maybe we missed a small piece of trash in there. Pull the carburetor back off and see what we're in for. No big deal. But we know it runs again, so that's some good wind in our sails. And then you feel like you know it runs, so it's okay to put some more money into it to make it tight and right again, so it's a good rideable machine before we invest too much. So yeah, no big deal. It's part of it. So we'll get this thing back in the garage, get the carburetor back up with it, see what's going on. So we got it back together. I fiddled around with the old carburetor some, and I just couldn't get it going right. It cranked up and idled really sweet, which was impressive because it's usually the idle circuit you have a problem with because it's such small passages. But whenever you're trying to ride it, you get about quarter throttle, and it just start laying down or popping like it was just terribly lean, not getting enough fuel. So rather than invest too much time in that carburetor, which I don't think was factory, I think somebody had already changed it out in the past, I went ahead and just bought another one and threw it on there, and it fires up and runs good. Let's see if it'll prove me wrong. Pretty dang sweet. So I'm happy with it. It's just it's a basic carburetor. It's a knockoff. It's not an original Suzuki. I wasn't going to spend the money on that. I just don't see the need in it when this one does the job just fine. So let's back this thing out of here and see how it does. For a 250, it's a pretty good little ripper. I got to admit, it's a sporty little bike. Way more than I thought, because a 250 is not a real big engine compared to stuff that we have nowadays. But it gets the job done, even with my fat butt on it. So that's going to do it for this one. We're going to end it off there. Nothing too much exciting left to do other than change the front tires. These ones are dry rotted pretty bad. And I do need to find a rear shock for this thing. I don't know if it was from, it just getting rode so hard in the past, or if it got blowed out just from sitting, but it's just gone. So I'm going to probably have to pull that one off and get some measurements on it from what I can tell. Unless I can find a factory one, I'd like to do that. But yeah, so shock tires, and this thing's ready to, burn up the pastures or trails as far as I'm concerned. So it's cool to get this whole thing going again. It's a fun, sporty little bike. So hope y'all enjoyed it. Maybe you learned something. Thanks for watching Junko Jr. We'll see you next time.